Hey, here are 5 stupid things I've noticed since last time. Huckabee questions Obama's support for same-sex marriage. During a recent O'Reilly Factor appearance, former Republican presidential candidate and middle-period Raymond Burr cosplayer Mike Huckabee criticized President Obama for first opposing, then supporting same-sex marriage, rhetorically asking the president, "Were you lying then? Are you lying now? Or did the Bible get rewritten?" I know that this is a difficult concept for Huckabee to grasp, but some people don't just copy and paste their morality from a single arbitrary source. Some people, even some religious people, are constantly editing and revising their values based on the new experiences they have and the new things that they learn. It doesn't make them liars, it makes them thoughtful. Although, come to think of it, that's probably even more offensive to Huckabee. Hagee's blood moon hysteria. Last week was the first of 4 consecutive total lunar eclipses that will occur between now and September 2015. It's called a tetrad, and not only is it an awesome celestial event, if you're an evangelist and a shameless attention whore like John Hagee, it's a sign of the looming end of days. Hagee announced prior to last week's eclipse that this was God's way of telling us that He is coming soon. My question is, if this tetrad is a sign of the end, what was the previous tetrad, which occurred from May 2003 to October 2004, a sign of? Or the one before that, which took place from May 1985 to October 1986? Or the 4 other tetrads that occurred before that in the 20th century? Or the 6 that will occur after this one before the end of the 21st century? Look, lunar eclipses are amazing events and well worth getting excited about. But they're not omens. I said 21st century, not 11th. CNN continues to lose it over missing plane. The lack of progress in the search for Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 since it disappeared last month hasn't stopped CNN from breathlessly reporting on the story ever since. The network has indulged in rampant speculation, treated unremarkable updates like gripping developments, and generally tried to wring every last drop of blood from this stone. At this point, the story has been so overhyped, anything short of multiple on-air suicides at the inevitable news that the plane has been discovered at the bottom of the Indian Ocean with no survivors will feel anticlimactic. Paranoia surrounding Connecticut's new gun law. Last year, Connecticut amended its state firearms regulations. The new law was ruled constitutional by a federal court, so of course there are thousands of people in the state refusing to obey it. Why? Because the NRA and its allies have convinced them that the new law will lead to widespread confiscation. Ironically, if some people do have their right to own certain weapons revoked, they'll have the NRA and themselves to blame. Possession of an undeclared banned weapon after January 1st of this year is a felony, which means possibly tens of thousands of Connecticuters, yes, that's the demonym for people who live in Connecticut, I looked it up, who chose to follow a paranoid conspiracy theory rather than the law of their state are now, technically speaking, criminals. Thanks, NRA. Speaking of idiots who feel entitled to break laws they don't like, that asshole in Nevada. Last week, 200 anti-government protesters, some of whom were armed, successfully intimidated officials from the Bureau of Land Management and law enforcement into returning cattle that had been seized from rancher Cliven Bundy, who has been illegally grazing cattle on federal lands for over 20 years and who owes over $1 million in back fees. Bundy has become something of a folk hero to many on the right because he's a rugged individualist who is standing up to overbearing federal authority. Of course, he's actually a freeloader who's too stupid to realize that without federally managed public land, which law-abiding ranchers may use for a fraction of the cost of grazing cattle on private land, his way of life would no longer fucking exist. The sooner that the BLM and law enforcement can take control of this situation from Bundy and his derpy band of gun-toting anarchists, the better. The hardest part is only picking 5. Catch you next time.